The future of superheroes is female, according to Marvel, DC, and half of the people in the entertainment industry. They want to push the men aside to make way for the strong, independent women, but apparently Warner Brothers has some different plans in mind because initially Batgirl was supposed to be a giant film for them. Then they decided it would be a smaller release on HBO Max, and after they merged with Discovery, they have decided that this movie isn't coming out at all because they have outright canceled it. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or support the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. Now, since its official cancellation announcement, the internet has been kind of blowing up over this situation because there is a large group of people who were looking forward to this, who were hopeful it was going to come out and it was going to be okay. And then there were people like me who were not impressed because of race swaps, the costumes looked pretty poor, the lineup for actors wasn't all that impressive, and overall it wasn't a project that I was jumping to see, I was very excited for. But Warner Brothers Discovery has now decided that this film wasn't large enough for them because they decided to cancel the release of Batgirl as they are committed to making DC titles big theatrical event films, and Batgirl isn't that. So, going on over to this first article, it says Batgirl won't fly. Warner Bros. Discovery has no plans to release the nearly finished $90 million film. Now, it's not like they announced this movie a year and a half ago, they cast a few actors, they got costumes ready, and they were starting the project. No, this film is almost done. As far as we knew, the filming of it was done. The actors didn't have anything else they needed to reshoot, and overall, this film was just in editing at this point. But apparently, for Warner Brothers Discovery, it just wasn't good enough. It says Warner Bros. Discovery will not release Batgirl either theatrically or on HBO Max, the Wrap has learned. The $90 million project is effectively dead. Batgirl was initially designed to be an HBO release and then was being considered for theatrical distribution. Due to COVID issues and shutdowns, the budget ballooned to $90 million. Now, yes, this is a pretty big amount of money to spend on something that they only really planned to release on HBO Max, but they did consider a theatrical distribution, but they ended up saying it would be way too expensive. It would double this budget at least, and that's just not something that they want to spend the money on at this point. But this film is almost completed, so you'd think that they'd at least release it in some way, shape, or form for people to see. It says the movie stars breakout star Leslie Grace in the title role of Barbara Gordon. The leaders of the studio determined ultimately, in spite of reshoots and increased budget, that the movie simply did not work according to insiders. The new owners and management are committed to making DC titles big theatrical event films, and Batgirl isn't that. That must be a very big burn to the writers, directors, the stars of this movie, because they have put years of work and effort into this just to be told by the people that you're working under, yeah, it's just not good enough for us. It's just not a large enough film. Insiders added that the studio brass loves the film's directors and stars and are actively planning to work with them soon. If I was a director or a star on this movie, there is no way that I would work with them again after they canceled this project at the very last minute. And we are apparently hearing that it was scrapped because the test screenings were very, very poor. It says in this article, Warner Bros. On Tuesday revealed it would not be releasing Batgirl or Scoob Holiday Haunt in any form, not theatrically and not even on HBO Max. I mean, this whole situation, it's not very surprising to see them cancel movies, but at this point in development, it is a little bit odd. It's been a race to the bottom with Warner Brothers. They keep actresses like Amber Heard around, and they're canceling a movie like this with less controversy than something like The Flash. Ezra Miller is running around getting arrested with serious accusations being levied against them, and The Flash hasn't been outright canceled yet. It's just been delayed by a few months at a time, which now has turned into a few years, but there are a lot of people who are furious over this decision to cancel this movie, but continue working with Ezra Miller and continuing to plan at least to release The Flash. It says the benefit of a tax credit for not releasing Batgirl outweighed other options in the minds of Warner Brothers Discovery executives. It seems Batgirl, which was always intended to be a direct to HBO Max release, was not deemed vital enough to the future of the DC universe to see that through. And we heard when they initially announced this project that their plan was to make Batgirl a central part of the DC EU, so it's a little bit odd to hear them kind of change that now. But it says the New York Post, which first reported the news that Batgirl would not see the light of day, cited a source who called the quality of the movie unspeakable. They wrote that test screenings were so poorly received by moviegoers that the studio decided to cut its losses and run. IndieWire confirmed that there were test screenings of Batgirl that received poor marks, but the low marks were not without precedent, one person told us. It just sounds like this movie was a massive disaster for them. It sounds like they thought that it was going to go over well with consumers. The fact that this movie apparently was going to have a ton of diversity and inclusivity. We were going to see potential breakout stars in this film. They were shoving a bunch of money into it. They didn't really care about how much money was going into it by the end of the project. And now suddenly we're hearing that it was canceled. I personally, again, didn't really feel that excited for this film, but it was almost completed. You'd think that they'd at least want to release it at this point. But going back to the tweet that Discussing Films made about it, a lot of people are feeling very conflicted over this. The people who wanted this film are absolutely roasting Warner Brothers right now because they decided to cancel this, yet they're not canceling something like The Flash. People are saying things like, Leslie and Brendan didn't deserve any of this. I feel bad for them. I do, in a way, feel bad for the actors because they did put years into this project and they were expecting it to release and hopefully it would do good. So I do feel bad for them. But at the end of the day, we don't really know any of the details about, their future working with Warner Brothers. Maybe they want to work with them again and they don't really care about the situation because they got paid for it at the end of the day. But we're probably not going to hear anything about that anytime soon. People were saying it was gonna be mid anyway. Yeah, I just didn't see a lot of potential with the images that we got. Hey, I don't know, maybe the story would be absolutely amazing, but it didn't appear that way to me. At the end of the day, I'm not very sad about this movie being canceled, primarily because I didn't see a lot of potential with it, but I know, obviously, a lot of people are pretty disappointed that they filmed an entire movie and we're never going to see it released. I do think it's pretty funny, though, that they've come out and openly admitted that it just wasn't a large title for them and they weren't really committed to making this movie at the end of the day. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.